Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is the show engineered to turn source material into, well, immediate actionable expertise for you.
That's right.
And today, we're doing more than just expanding vocabulary. We're really upgrading your ability to understand, maybe label, and definitely navigate human nature.
Hmm.
It's a deep dive into it's called the architecture of personality.
I like that. Architecture of personality. And yeah, the mission for you, the listener, is really practical, very hands-on.
Okay.
We've basically synthesized a pretty powerful stack of sources, all focused on the precise language of character traits.
Right.
So think of this as building a toolkit, a sophisticated personality vocabulary toolkit.
Okay, I like toolkit.
Yeah. So whether you need, the perfect word for a performance review or maybe for marketing yourself in a meeting,
A crucial meeting, yeah.
crucial one, or even just to understand why your coworker acts the way they do sometimes.
Us, yeah. That's a common one.
This dive should hopefully equip you with that kind of clarity.
So, to set the scene, let's start where our sources did. They had this fictional classroom scenario,
Yeah.
but it felt very real.
Totally relatable. Yeah.
Students reading their personality test results out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And what was really striking, I thought, was that nobody got a purely good or purely bad score. It was all mixed.
Exactly. That's the key.
We had results like adventurous, outgoing, easygoing,
Yeah.
but then mixed with things like superstitious or naive.
Right. Or you saw, extroverted, well-balanced, generous, but maybe alongside something else unexpected. Diligent, too.
Yeah. And what that opening really hammers home, I think, is that personality just isn't monolithic. It's never just one thing.
No, it's messy. It's a fascinating cocktail, really. It's that unique way each person, synthesizes their thinking, their feeling, their behaving.
Right.
And look, if you want to build stronger relationships, if you want to communicate better, or maybe just stop misjudging people based on, first impressions.
Which we all do sometimes.
Oh, we all do. Then understanding this precise language, these trait combinations, it's absolute foundational. You've got to have it.
Okay, let's unpack that first major category, that
Yep.
one revealed in that snapshot.
Right.
The ambiguous and cautionary traits.
Right.
These are the words that aren't strictly negative, maybe, but they definitely carry some risk. Or it depends on the context.
Context is everything with these, yeah.
Let's start with how people handle social situations.
Uh-huh.
Outgoing
Yeah.
and its opposite.
Okay. Outgoing seems simple, but it's fundamental. It describes someone who just has this real comfort level in social settings.
Okay.
Like really comfortable talking to strangers or people they just met.
Right.
They're often the ones starting conversations. They genuinely love meeting new people.
Yeah.
And they often get energy from being in big groups. It fuels them.
And there's a difference between just being outgoing, friendly, and the more technical term, extroverted, right?
Yeah.
That's important.
Very important distinction.
We're not just talking about friendliness. Extroversion is more about energy, isn't it? How you maintain your energy.
That's exactly it. Extroverts, fundamentally, they get recharged by being around people, by external stimulation, social engagement.
Okay.
That's where their battery gets refilled, so to speak.
Which makes the opposite, introverted, so often misunderstood.
It's hugely misunderstood. Yeah.
An introverted person isn't necessarily shy, right? That's different.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Shyness often comes from anxiety or fear of being judged. Introversion is just about how you process the world and how you recharge your energy.
Okay.
Introverts tend to prefer time alone, or maybe with just a very small, trusted group.
Fewer people, deeper connections.
Exactly. Depth over breadth often. And those big, noisy, stimulating environments, they can actually be really draining for an introvert, physically draining.
Right. It wipes them out.
Yeah. So figuring out if you or someone you know is truly introverted versus maybe just shy in certain situations, that understanding can unlock huge improvements in how you communicate. Massive.
Okay. Good distinction. Now let's move from social style to cognitive wiring, how we think and believe. Two fascinating ones here. Superstitious and naive.
Ah, yeah. These are interesting.
Superstitious. This person links specific actions, often, well, irrational actions,
Totally irrational, yeah.
to outcomes,
Yeah.
usually bad luck.
Right. It's this deep-seated connection they make. Our sources pointed out the classics, didn't they?
Yeah, like walking under a ladder is bad luck.
Or opening an umbrella inside. Don't do that.
Right. It's not logical, obviously. It's this ingrained belief where your actions are seen to have these almost magical consequences.
Well, it often gives a feeling of control, in a world that feels uncontrollable.
That's a good point.
But it does mean that person is operating outside a rational framework when making certain choices.
Okay. And then we have naive, which is also about belief, but it seems rooted more in lack of experience.
That's the core of it, yeah. Naive describes someone who just tends to believe most things they're told.
Like they haven't built up those filters yet?
Yeah. Exactly. They lack that worldly experience or maybe the critical thinking skills to really question information effectively.
The sources had that great analogy.
Oh, the frogs.
If you tell someone it's going to rain frogs tomorrow, and they actually believe you, maybe start preparing.
Get an umbrella ready for frogs, yeah. That's naivety.
Yeah.
Now, we have to be careful with this word, naive.
Right. Why is that?
Well, it's often associated with, childhood or innocence, which is fine. But in an adult, it suggests vulnerability.
Oh, okay.
Naive people can, unfortunately, be easier targets for manipulation or scams, especially, online these days.
That's a really strong point about the impact. And the source mentioned calling someone naive can actually be kind of offensive.
It can be, yeah, because it implies they're lacking something, like worldliness or critical intelligence.
So maybe describe the action, not label the person.
Often better, yeah. Unless you're genuinely talking about someone very inexperienced, like a young person learning. But the core difference is still there. The superstitious person chooses a non-rational belief, maybe for comfort.
Right.
Whereas the naive person often lacks the framework or experience to engage rationally in the first place.
Got it. Okay, let's shift now to action and physical risk. Contrasting reckless with clumsy. Reckless sounds pretty serious.
It is serious. Reckless means doing things without enough thought, often leading to dangerous situations.
Because they just disregard safety or consequences.
Completely disregard them, yeah. It's a fundamental failure in judgment and assessing risk.
The source used the example of driving without a seatbelt.
Perfect example. Immediately shows the severity. A reckless person acts on impulse, they ignore rules or safety protocols, and they often endanger themselves and others too. It really speaks to a lack of prudence, of foresight. That makes it a pretty serious character flaw, especially in jobs or situations where others depend on you.
Okay, and then we dial the severity way down for clumsy. This is purely physical, right? Lack of coordination.
Purely physical, yeah. This is the person who's always bumping into furniture, tripping over air.
Yeah. Or their own feet.
Hitting their head on cabinets, dropping things all the time.
We all know someone like that.
Yeah.
Maybe you're someone like that.
Exactly. And clumsiness is often treated with a bit more humor. It's just an inability to manage your body and space efficiently.
And the sources gave that great slang term, butterfingers.
Butterfingers. Yeah, like your fingers are slippery like butter. Things just slide out.
So both clumsy and reckless are kind of negative.
Mm.
They suggest doing things incorrectly.
In a way, yes. But the intent or lack of thought really separates them.
How so?
Well, a clumsy person accidentally knocks over a vase. A reckless person intentionally speeds through a red light.
Ah, okay. Big difference.
Huge. One's an inconvenience, maybe breaks something. The other is a genuine danger driven by poor judgment.
Right. So that first section really highlights the nuance, the ambiguity. Like, outgoing is fine until it's intrusive. Superstition is okay until it makes you do something unsafe.
Precisely. Context and degree matter hugely.
All right, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Let's shift to the words you want to hear. The desirable traits, the positive attributes.
The aspirational language, yes.
These are the descriptors for, professional excellence, personal integrity, things you might want to use in an interview, maybe.
Definitely ones for the interview list.
Let's start with the foundations, things employers, colleagues really look for. Diligence and responsibility.
Okay, diligence. This is huge. It means doing things very carefully, very thoroughly, paying close attention to the details, making sure the job is done well, and importantly, on time.
It's not just working hard then. It's how you work.
Exactly. It's about the method. A diligent person is meticulous. They don't like cutting corners. They check their work.
And this sounds like it connects to other positive traits. Like, if you're diligent, you're probably also hardworking.
Almost certainly. Hardworking means dedicated, putting in significant effort, not giving up easily. Persistence.
And you'd also have to be responsible.
Absolutely linked. Responsibility means you keep your promises, you take ownership of your duties, you do what you say you're going to do.
Right. Follow through.
Follow through is key. So you put them together. Diligence, which is the method. Hard work, the effort. And responsibility, the accountability.
Uh-huh.
That's like the trifecta of professional reliability. When your boss or teacher uses those words about you, that signals high trust, high value.
Definitely words you want to hear.
Right.
Okay, moving to more intellectual or communication strengths. We have open-minded and eloquent.
Good pair.
Open-minded is defined as being easy to entertain new ideas. But maybe we can unpack that a bit more.
Yeah, it's more than just tolerance, isn't it? It's about cognitive flexibility.
Flexibility, how so?
It means you're the opposite of rigid in your thinking. Even if a new idea clashes with what you already believe,
Uh-huh.
you're willing to actually consider it. Give it some mental space. Assess its merits without just shutting it down emotionally.
So it implies a certain humility, like maybe I don't know everything.
Exactly. Intellectual humility, the willingness to admit you might be wrong or that a better idea could exist. Crucial for innovation, for learning, for growth.
Okay, now contrast that flexibility with eloquent. This is about speaking well.
Very well, yeah. Eloquent describes a speaker who is just highly proficient. They sound really good when they talk.
Is it just using big words?
No, not just that. Big words can sometimes obscure meaning. Eloquence is more about clarity, rhythm, persuasion, impact. Think about someone giving a complex presentation, but they manage to make complicated stuff sound compelling, understandable, maybe even memorable.
Right, you call that an eloquent speech or explanation.
Precisely. It's highly valued in leadership, obviously. Sales, negotiation, public speaking,
No.
anywhere you need to get people to really listen and absorb your message.
Okay, now for a really powerful word from the sources. Magnanimous. This sounds like it goes beyond just being generous.
It does. It's about greatness of spirit. That's almost the literal meaning.
Greatness of spirit, wow.
A magnanimous person does things for the benefit of others. They prioritize other people's well-being. They're fundamentally unselfish.
It's an ethical trait then.
Strongly ethical, yes.
Yeah.
Often shown in moments of, like, conflict or high stakes. The source gave that very clear example.
Donating half your salary to earthquake victims.
Right. That's a truly magnanimous gesture. It's a significant personal sacrifice for people you don't even know.
But it's not just about money, is it? Could it be about forgiveness or taking blame?
Absolutely. A magnanimous leader might publicly forgive an opponent who attacked them unfairly, or they might take the fall for a team mistake, even if others were involved.
So it suggests they're not petty. They focus on the bigger picture.
Exactly. Lack of pettiness is key. They're focused on the honorable action, the selfless resolution, not on winning or assigning blame. It shows real control over the ego.
Powerful word. Okay, finally, in this positive section, let's revisit daring. We touched on recklessness before. How is daring different?
Ah, yes. Daring is someone who dares to take risks. The examples were things like skydiving.
Right, jumping out of a plane.
Yeah.
We're starting a really innovative, risky business.
Exactly. Now, daring is often seen as positive, but this is where we absolutely have to draw that line between daring and reckless.
Okay, they both involve risk. So what's the key difference? What separates them?
I think you nailed it earlier implicitly. It's calculation.
Calculation.
Yeah. Recklessness seems to be the absence of calculation. It's driven by impulse, ignoring the risks. Daring, especially in business or professional life, implies a calculated risk.
Ah, okay, so you thought it through.
You've thought it through. A daring entrepreneur, for example, might spend months analyzing the market, building contingency plans, understanding the worst-case scenario, and then they make the leap.
Right, whereas the reckless one.
The reckless one just throws money at a hunch, doesn't do the homework.
Got it. So daring is more of a cognitive choice, driven by ambition, perhaps, while recklessness is more emotional, driven by disregard.
That's a great way to put it. Daring involves foresight. Recklessness lacks it. And interestingly, the sources suggest that in really successful people, daring is often paired with diligence and responsibility.
Ah, so they take the risk, but they manage it carefully.
Exactly. The risk is mitigated, not just blindly ignored. That's the crucial difference.
So, okay, we've built up this quite sophisticated vocabulary now. What does it all mean for, daily life? Personality isn't just a label we stick on people. It shapes how we interact, how we handle stress, how we perform at work.
Absolutely. And the most immediate practical application, something all our sources touched on, is self-presentation, especially in high-stakes situations, like a job interview.
Right. Recruiters are definitely listening for these kinds of words.
They use them as checkpoints, for sure.
So precision here is really key. If they ask for, say, 3 adjectives to describe yourself, saying, I'm extroverted, diligent, and open-minded.
That hits a lot of the right notes. Professionalism, teamwork, reliability.
Yeah. But the tricky one is always, tell me about a fault or a weakness. We already established you probably shouldn't say you're, like, clumsy or naive.
Definitely not. That's where you need to be strategic. The sources confirm this kind of spinning technique is still common and expected to some degree.
Spinning. So you present a negative that's actually a positive in disguise.
Essentially, yes. You offer a fault that's really a positive trait taken maybe a little too far.
Hmm.
You avoid revealing a core character flaw.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, instead of saying you're disorganized, which is generally bad, you might say something like, I sometimes find myself getting lost in the details on a project.
Ah, implying you're actually very diligent, maybe too much so.
Exactly. Or using daring from before. You could say, well, sometimes I can be a bit too daring in pushing for new ideas before everyone's fully on board.
Which signals innovation, not irresponsibility. But doesn't that sound a bit cliche? Do recruiters see through that?
They might see the technique, yes, but they're assessing two things primarily. One, your self-awareness, and two, whether the fault you mention is something manageable or something genuinely destructive to the role or team.
Okay.
So when you say something like, I sometimes take things personally, you're actually signaling psychologically that you have a high level of investment and emotional engagement in your work.
Which can be seen as a positive.
Often, yes. As long as it doesn't translate into, say, being unable to handle constructive criticism. The goal is to offer an ambitious fault, not a fundamental weakness.
Got it. Okay, beyond presenting ourselves, personality dictates how we handle challenges. Stress. There seems to be a core split here. Optimism versus pessimism.
Yeah, a fundamental difference in outlook. An optimistic person, when they hit a roadblock, they tend to genuinely see it as, a temporary setback. Or maybe even an opportunity to learn or grow.
So they focus on solutions.
They focus on solutions, yeah. They maintain a generally positive expectation for the future that makes them really valuable. In a crisis, they keep things moving forward.
Whereas the pessimistic person?
The pessimistic person tends to expect the worst. They focus much more on the problems, the obstacles. They might feel helpless, worry a lot about what could go wrong.
And that must affect their motivation, their energy.
Hugely. It can make it hard for them to even start difficult tasks because they're already anticipating failure.
And this links directly to stress management, right? The calm and patient versus the nervous or anxious.
Direct link. A calm and patient person maintains their equilibrium under pressure. They stay relaxed, relatively speaking. They take time to think through solutions. They don't let the pressure trigger panic or, inappropriate anger.
They're like the emotional ballast on a team.
Good way to put it. Yeah, the ballast. In contrast, the nervous or anxious person worries constantly. They're prone to overthinking things.
Analysis paralysis.
Classic analysis paralysis. They struggle to make decisions because they're so preoccupied with fear and all the potential negative outcomes. It's crucial to know this difference when assessing someone for a high-pressure job.
Definitely. Okay, this leads us nicely into team dynamics.
Yeah.
The interplay between leaders and followers.
Right. Leaders are typically those who naturally step up. They take responsibility, they guide others, they make decisions with confidence, they often enjoy being in charge.
And followers.
Followers generally prefer to receive instructions. They're comfortable executing a plan laid out by someone else, they follow the rules.
Now, the key insight here, which the sources really emphasized, is that being a follower isn't a bad thing. It's not a deficit.
Not at all. It's a different but equally important role. It's a specialization, you could say.
Why are both needed?
Well, imagine a team where everyone is a dominant, take-charge leader.
Chaos. Constant arguments.
Probably. Endless debates about whose plan is best. Nothing gets done efficiently. Now imagine a team of only followers.
Nothing starts. No one takes initiative.
Exactly. No one steps up to initiate action or take accountability when things go wrong, which they inevitably do. So you need that mix. It prevents both chaos and stagnation. You get strategic vision balanced with solid execution.
Makes sense. Okay, finally in this section, let's touch on that really interesting personality category. The type A personality.
Type A. This concept got really popular. It actually came from cardiologists back in the 50s, Friedman and Rosenman.
Right, they linked it to heart health.
They did. They noticed this pattern. Type A people are typically intensely competitive, very serious, driven. They push themselves incredibly hard.
Sounds good so far. But what's the downside?
The downside is the underlying emotional state. They are often chronically anxious, always aware of time, always feeling this sense of urgency, like everything needs to be done right now.
And controlling.
Very controlling, often. They need to feel in control of situations and people around them, constantly needing to get things done.
So that internal drive, that anxiety,
Mm,
it affects their behavior.
massively. The original research linked this pattern, especially things like free-floating hostility, time urgency, excessive competitiveness with a higher risk of heart disease.
Sure.
That constant internal friction takes a toll.
And it makes them difficult to work with sometimes. The sources mentioned they're often not easygoing.
Generally not. Easygoing is kind of the opposite. The type A person's anxiety often pushes them to try and control their environment.
So they might struggle with teamwork.
Can do. They often want things done their way right now. They might struggle to delegate effectively. They can be poor listeners because they're already thinking about the next step, the next task. Collaboration can feel like a delay to them. Understanding type A is important because it shows how a seemingly positive trait, like being hardworking, can become negative when it's bundled with excessive anxiety and a need for control. It tips over from diligence into something more like obsession. Debilitating sometimes.
Okay, so understanding these words helps us describe people, helps us understand ourselves maybe.
Yeah.
But the real power, you're saying, is in adaptation, learning to navigate these differences.
That's where the rubber meets the road, I think.
Sure.
Section 4 here is all about navigating and, ideally, accepting these profound differences we see in people, starting with just how we show emotion.
Right. We have expressive versus reserved.
Two ends of a spectrum. An expressive person, they pretty much broadcast their feelings.
Wear their heart on their sleeve.
Exactly. They smile big when happy, they might cry easily when sad, they share their thoughts and feelings quite readily. What you see is often what you get.
Okay. And the reserved person.
The mirror image, really. They tend to keep their emotions more private. They don't express them outwardly very much.
So they might seem serious or quiet, maybe even distant.
They might seem that way, yes. Even if, internally, they're feeling things very strongly or care very deeply about the situation or the people involved.
And the key takeaway here, the sources said,
Yeah.
is that neither way is right or wrong.
Absolutely crucial point. Neither is better or worse, ethically or morally. They're just different ways people process and display emotion.
Culture plays a role too, right?
Huge role. In some cultures, being reserved is seen as mature, dignified. In others, being expressive is seen as authentic, honest.
And just knowing this difference can improve communication.
Immensely. Think about it. If you're a naturally talkative, expressive person, and you're interacting with someone who's quiet and reserved, if you don't understand this difference, what might you assume about their silence?
That you're bored, or disagree, or don't like me.
Exactly. You might interpret their quietness negatively. But if you understand reserved personalities, you realize they might simply prefer listening, they might be processing internally, they're participating, just in a different way.
So you don't take it personally.
You don't take it personally. That flexibility, that conscious effort not to just project your own style onto everyone else, that's a real sign of emotional intelligence.
Okay. And this becomes even more critical in close relationships, right? When traits really clash, like the example of this super responsible, organized person living with a really messy, forgetful roommate.
Oh, classic conflict scenario.
Yeah.
Or the relaxed, easygoing spouse who just gets completely exhausted trying to understand their chronically anxious partner.
Where does the conflict usually come from?
It often comes from a mistaken assumption. The organized person assumes the messy person chooses to be messy, maybe out of laziness or disrespect. The relaxed person thinks the anxious person chooses to worry unnecessarily.
But it might just be their inherent personality.
Often, yes. Or at least a deeply ingrained pattern. So the first step in adaptation is acceptance. Acknowledge the difference exists. The organized person needs to realize that constantly nagging or trying to fix the messy person probably won't work and will just cause resentment.
So adaptation means finding a middle ground, not trying to force the other person to change completely.
Exactly. It's about finding ways to work together despite the differences. So maybe the responsible roommate and the forgetful one agree on rules for shared spaces. The kitchen, the living room, keeping those clean is non-negotiable.
But the forgetful one gets autonomy over their own bedroom.
Precisely. It respects the difference while still allowing the shared environment to function. You work with the trait, not constantly against it.
The sources had some specific tips too, didn't they? Like for dealing with a stubborn person.
Yes, stubborn people hold very fixed opinions, right? They don't change their minds easily. The advice there was, practice extreme patience.
Don't argue head on.
Arguing is usually futile. It just makes them dig their heels in more. Better to calmly present facts or your perspective and then step back. Give them space and time. They might come around eventually, but it has to be on their terms, their timeline.
Okay. And what about dealing with a very sensitive person? Someone easily hurt.
Handle with care. Communication needs to be gentle. Use kind words. Pay attention to your tone of voice. If you need to offer criticism, frame it very constructively. Sandwich it between positives, maybe.
So being flexible, understanding these quirks, it's not just about making life easier, it actually strengthens the relationship.
It absolutely does. When you make an effort to understand and adapt to someone's core personality, you're showing respect, you're building trust, you're using this vocabulary we've discussed not just to label people, but to actually build bridges between them.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground today, a really extensive deep dive from, diligent and magnanimous all the way to reckless and the complexities of type A.
It's a rich vocabulary.
It really is. And the immediate importance of getting a handle on this, mastering this personality language, it feels profound, actually. It gives you clarity, right,
Yeah.
in how you see yourself.
Definitely self-assessment, yeah.
It sharpens how you present yourself professionally, your narrative.
Crucial for interviews, reviews, networking.
And it just helps you navigate all those complex relationships in life, at home, at work.
Absolutely. When you master the precise words like confident versus arrogant, or responsible versus controlling, naive versus open-minded, expressive versus reserved, you can move beyond just generic descriptions.
Right.
You can express really complex thoughts about yourself, about others, much more accurately. And that makes your communication clearer, definitely more persuasive, and just more natural, actually.
Okay, so before we wrap up, we want to leave you, the listener, with that challenge, the one suggested by the source material.
The homework.
The homework, yeah. We challenge you to use this new toolkit you've hopefully started building today. Find one new adjective, a word maybe you weren't really using before this deep dive that you feel perfectly describes you.
Good one.
Or, if you want more of a challenge, find the single best adjective to describe the person who maybe irritates you the most.
Ooh, provocative.
Yeah, but force yourself to analyze why. What's the source of that friction? Maybe you'll realize, they're classic type A, or, okay, they're just extremely reserved, and I was misinterpreting that.
That kind of analysis can be really insightful. And our sort of final thought here really focuses on appreciating that uniqueness, understanding the specific cocktail of traits that makes up any individual personality. It really allows us to appreciate what each person brings to the table.
So instead of just judging based on differences, like the quiet person judging the loud one, or the neat freak criticizing the messy one.
Exactly. Instead of those instant value judgments, we're empowered to maybe focus more on the good qualities, the strengths that everyone possesses, even if they're packaged differently from our own.
Recognizing that complexity, we talked about the person who's ambitious, but maybe sometimes a bit reckless, or the one who's super diligent, but also really anxious. Acknowledging that nuance allows for a much richer and ultimately a more positive and understanding environment.
Definitely more understanding. Whether that's, in your own family or your closest friendships, or even in your most competitive workplace, understanding the architecture helps.
A more positive environment through understanding. I like that.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the language of character.
We'll catch you next time.